Good morning, everyone. I've got an interesting video today. Honestly, pretty nervous about this one. I almost didn't even come out to film it. I got the idea to film this when I was watching a YouTube video last night by Joe Dispenza. He's a neuroscientist. But anyway, my main motivation with this video is that lately I've been doing a lot of inner work, just trying to face absolutely everything from my past and everything within myself that's holding me back from my future. And I definitely still have some work to do. That's why I'm doing this. And I also hope that maybe this will help some of you who are also kind of lost or confused or just feel like there's something greater in store for you. Okay, so my life story so far. It starts from when I was a baby. So I was born in Dallas, Texas, to my mom, Rebecca Thompson, and my biological father, Thomas Castles. So anyway, things were decent back then until I was a year and a half old. I don't remember this, but my biological father was doing laundry and left me up on a counter that was like 4 feet from the floor, and I fell off. I broke my skull, which I could still feel. The line from here, right above my right eye, it goes up and it curves and comes down to the middle of my ear. Just cracked my skull open, and the doctors informed my mom that 33% of my brain was damaged. Of course, I have no way to know how this has affected me. I mean, undoubtedly it has. I wouldn't be the same person today if that hadn't happened. And I don't see it as a negative event. But anyway, so my mom flipped out, confronted him about it because he kept it secret for 3 days. She found out when she was giving me a bath and wanted to know what the hell was going on, and he laughed it off, said it sounded like a watermelon busted, and yeah, she realized something was wrong with him, so she left immediately. And I didn't see him again until I was 7 years old. Basically, she tried to go after child support numerous times, but he kept moving from state to state every time they found his location. He was dodging child support and seemed to have no interest in seeing me, but for some reason when I was 7, visitation started happening. I saw him once a month, and well, let's just say I was pretty disappointed, because from the time I was 2 until 7, I got used to having my stepdad around, and he's an awesome guy. He was just basically like Superman to me, and I saw my biological father, this overweight guy who had emphysema when he was younger, and you know, he was missing a lung and basically just not in a good place. But anyway, by the time I was 8, he disappeared again, and that ended up leaving me with some pretty powerful abandonment issues. Anyway, let's go back again. So when I was 5 years old, I had this cousin, older cousin, started doing weird things to me. He started touching me in ways you're not supposed to, violating me. And this went on from the time I was 5 until I was 10 years old. A few times a month I got molested by my cousin. And that's actually why I moved to Alaska when I was around 10 years old, was because I finally told my mom. You know, I was sick of it, and until then I just felt so uncomfortable about it. I didn't know how to bring it up, but I got tired of it and told her, and oh man, she didn't like that. Most of our family members actually refused to believe her, and the issue was never really brought up to me at the time. Not much was said about it. It was when I was older that I learned that most of the family didn't believe my mom, but that definitely happened. It happened. 5 years, dozens of times over the course of that 5 years. You don't make that kind of crap up. But anyway, so then we got that. By the time I was 10 years old, I already had abandonment issues, sexual issues, and even issues with expressing my emotions. I was just so confused and out of sorts. But anyways, this led on to me having problems relating to people in middle and high school. Not to mention I'm short. Like, even now I'm 5'4". You know, I'm a short guy, so I got picked on a lot when I was in school. I got segregated by the popular kids, you know, like they thought it was okay to pick on me and make fun of me because of my stature, or my nerdy interests in like mathematics, science, you know, forms of art, music, stuff like that. Okay, so anyway, there's all that stuff, right? So then when I was 12 years old, my mom broke her back when she was snowboarding, and this led to a multitude of problems that snowballed over, well, until even now. So basically, she got put on pain meds, and over the next year, she started to become more and more addicted to those meds. She started spending rent money on meds and maybe even drugs at that point. But my father didn't know about it for a while, and then he found out, and they broke up a couple of times. The third time was the final time and ended up leading into a divorce. But yeah, when I was 13, my mom ended up getting into methamphetamine, and other than that, I can't say what she was into. I know she was into a multitude of drugs, but for sure I know that her main one was meth. She was really into that one, and my dad was working all the time, so he felt it was better to leave us in custody of her, and he didn't realize like how crazy she'd gotten. He thought at that point that she still just had a problem with pharmaceuticals. But when I was 16 was when he realized how bad things were, and he stepped in. I'm glad he did, and he took custody of my brother and I full time. But in that few years, a lot of stuff had already happened. My mom, she would get so high that she would go insane. She would start like looking at me with crazy eyes when I'd get back from school and start yelling at me about how I was Satan, and I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I didn't know what I was doing, and you know, I used to argue back with her because I was just confused and wanted to understand where she was coming from, and also angry that she would constantly accuse me of random stuff. And then she went off and told my brother randomly one day that I was a crazy schizophrenic that would rub my excrement on the walls of the bathroom. And he believed her until he talked to me about it, and I was like, whoa! It was the first time I heard that, and it was like I was losing my mom. When I was really young, she was a super good person. She was affectionate. She was, she worked out a lot. She had abs. She was just a phenomenal human being. But when she broke her back, it's just like, everything flipped. And even now, to this day, she is still on drugs. I'm 25 years old, and I still haven't gotten my mom back, and I'm not sure I ever will. Okay, anyway, let's not get too sidetracked here. So, now let's go back to some of the negative coping mechanisms I developed. So, at some point when I was 13, I started getting into pills myself. I would get pills from school, from people, and I started abusing pills. I was crushing them, snorting them, smoking them, and that went on for about a year until I realized, whoa, if I keep doing this, I'm going to end up just like my mom. Things started to come together and hit me, and I was just like, oh wow. So I stopped doing that, but I was still doing things like abusing alcohol and then smoking weed as well. In fact, I still smoke weed to this day. I don't smoke alcohol. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I don't smoke tobacco because I also got into that when I was a teenager. Quit that when I was 17. Quit alcohol when I was 21, 22. I don't know, it was a few years ago. And now I'm trying to kick weed to the curb. I feel like I don't need it anymore. It's in the way, but it's not exactly easy. A big part of that is because when I was 17, I moved to a neighborhood called Houston, and it was a stoner neighborhood. You know, all the kids there smoked weed, and you know, I made some good friends there. You know, I actually felt like I belonged for once, and that's where weed kind of became like this sort of glue, this friendship glue. Of course, that wasn't everything to the friendship, and I'm still really good friends with a couple of those people today. Actually, I just got done visiting, or not done visiting, but one of my friends, he lives here in Colorado, about 45 minutes away from where I'm at now. I visit him often, and then his little brother, who also became my good friend. But anyway, let's not get too distracted here with my story. So yeah, like, honestly, the hardest part of everything has been my mom. You know, like, that's my most unresolved issue at this point, because when I was 19, I sought counseling on my own part for my sexual issues from when I was younger, because I had flashbacks all the time from that stuff, and I didn't realize how bad my problems were and how much I needed help until I was 19, and I went to counseling for just 4 months. That's all it took, and I totally got past those sexual issues and the molestation stuff. I haven't had flashbacks ever since then, and yeah. So when I was 20, those are when I really started to take self-development seriously, and this is why. So, again, back to 17 in Houston, my stoner friends, one of them mentioned this movie that he had watched called The Secret, and back then I was like, sounds kind of silly, like, maybe there's a little truth to it, but anyway, so The Secret is this movie that explains that your thoughts have a tangible effect on your reality, that everything's vibration, and you attract things of similar vibration to you. So you put thoughts out, and you get that in return, negative or positive. And about a year went by. Ironically enough, my mom, as drugged out as she was, happened to be the one who handed me this book called The Secret. I had never talked about The Secret to her. I thought it was silly. She said she got it from some doctor or something, and she thought it was interesting, thought maybe I would be interested in it. I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute. This is the book counterpart to the movie that my friend was talking about. And by the way, this is the friend that lives 45 minutes from here, the one that told me about The Secret. But anyway, I started reading the book, and again, kind of silly. The way it's written almost seems like it's written to an elementary schooler or a 6th grader. It's not the most eloquently written book. It's written in a very simple manner, and it was pretty hard to take seriously. I almost wanted to put it down a few times, but they had many excellent quotes in there by people like Einstein and other great minds. And I went on to look up those different quotes and those different people, and I started to see, okay, so there are some patterns here, some very obvious patterns between these highly successful and genius thinkers. Like, these people are onto something. So I started taking that idea seriously. I was like, okay, I'm going to start reworking how I think. I'm going to try to think more positively, and that actually went really well for me. And then we get back to the part where I'm 20. I was in the library looking for astrology books, because at this point in my life, like, I went from being severely logical to being interested in the metaphysical and the mystical. Basically, my mind got opened up to the more esoteric aspects of our reality. And anyway, let's not get too distracted here. 20 years old, in the library, astrology books. I saw a book called The Law of Attraction, and I felt compelled to pick it up. I was like, that's a weird title. The Law of Attraction. Sounds like a scientific book. Picked it up, read the back cover. No way. It's The Secret, with a different title. So I checked it out, started reading it, and this book was written much more eloquently. There's like channeling, spirit channeling and stuff like that in the book, so some of it's you have to be really open-minded to read this kind of book. And I took most of it with a grain of salt. Of course, there were some parts where I was like, okay, that's undeniable. Like, I've already seen several quotes by great thinkers that are also on the exact same page as what this book is saying. So anyway, after reading that book, I started meditating, because that book actually spoke of like meditative practices for clearing your mind as well as visualizing what you want in your future. So 5 years now I've been regularly meditating. By regular I mean a few times a week. Sometimes it's as little as 10 minutes, but sometimes I meditate for half an hour. I'm definitely not the most dedicated practitioner, but I still consider myself to be regular because I've consistently been doing it all this time. But anyway, that was when a lot of stuff started to change. Because up to that point, I had become rather misanthropic. Like, I had some positivity going on for me because of The Secret, but I was listening to a lot of really heavy metal, just full of anger, and felt like the best way to fix the world was to get rid of everybody, just wipe the slate clean, get rid of all of it. But that's a bad way of thinking. It's a very self-destructive way of thinking. And it's kind of scary to think back on, because who knows, if I hadn't recognized some of the things that I did, I could have ended up in a very different position today. I could have committed crimes, maybe even absolutely horrendous crimes, and justified it with my misanthropic ideologies. But anyway, I definitely think meditation has been the greatest thing for my development so far. Yeah, but of course, the journey had only just begun. So now, let's get to the current point, or I guess the recent year. 7 months ago, or actually 6 months ago, I quit my job as a communications lineman. I had been one for 4 years. Very good job. You make a lot of money. It's just, there's a lot of stability, but it's a very hard work. You're putting your life on the risk because you got power lines and, stuff going on, And yeah, just so much physical labor, and over time, especially the last year of work, I started to get increasingly frustrated with my work. I just didn't want to be there anymore. I started getting pissed off at coworkers and almost got in a fight with one of them, and I was like, nope, I have to stop. I have to quit. I'm done. And I walked off the job site 7 hours back to the hotel. The guy showed up at about the same time I made it back from my walk. But then I told them again, I was like, yep, that's my final decision. I can't do this. Like, I'm really sorry, guys. And they had already known I planned to take off by the summer. I just happened to take off a month earlier than I originally planned. But I had already had money saved up and stuff, so I decided, you know what, like, I can't keep doing this. Like, this is gonna keep getting worse, and I don't want to see myself being this person. So I quit my job, came here to Colorado where some of my friends are, decided, I needed some time to think about things, and I've been doing a lot of thinking, filming and editing videos, just doing random creative stuff and having some fun and whatnot, and having plenty of time for my physical training, going on walks in nature, meditating, reading books and stuff like that. I've been taking absolute advantage of my free time. I haven't been lazing it off. Yeah, I've been playing some video games and stuff, and still smoking weed, obviously, which I actually quit for 5 weeks recently. And I had decided that I was going to quit forever, but I started back up again, and I am pretty ashamed of that, and I promise you all, I'm going to quit for good. Here soon, I'm going to do it. I gotta restart the camera. It caps me at 20 minutes. Okay, so back to my story. So, recently, I went back to Alaska. It's been 2 years since I've seen my mom and some of my friends. and she's worse than she's ever been. You know, like, when you go visit your mom, she's supposed to be in a good place, you know? She's supposed to have a warm bed for you to sleep in, you know, a bedroom for you to come visit. But instead, my mom's all drugged out, staying in a trap house full of druggies, and one of them sells drugs out of that house. And I was sleeping on the couch for 2 nights while I was visiting, and, you know, I kept the peace, I kept my mouth shut, you know, didn't judge anyone, and I mean, I don't really have any place to. I've been through a lot of stuff. I've done some things, you know, maybe not hard drugs like that, but I've done other things that are bad, you know, like... Anyways. Yeah. I decided it's finally time to cut her off recently. I blocked her on all social media, blocked her number and everything. Like, I just can't do it anymore, and it is so hard to see someone like that you think is a superhuman when you're a kid, you know, like super affectionate, awesome woman, super active, and you're just a zombie now, you know, becoming more and more manipulative over time, more and more toxic in her thinking. Like, there have been a few times where she's tried to guilt trip Kyle and I by being like, oh, I have cancer, I have this, and I'm dying soon, I need you guys to take care of me, and like different stuff, and we never bought into it just because it's like the boy who cries wolf, you know? It's like, it just sucks, you know? Like, what do you do about it? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, and you know, I have my own problems to deal with, you know? Like, you got that with my mom, and then, you know, my dad's a phenomenal person, but he's not the most emotionally available, you know. He was gone a lot for work growing up because he's a communications lineman. That's how I got into the job, and very dependable guy, but kind of emotionally closed off because he experienced trauma when he was younger too, and it led to him building a wall around his emotions. And, you know, my mom had stuff that happened to her growing up, very horrific things. You know, these problems are cycles that go back, and I've realized that, like, my brother and I, it's up to us to stop this. Like, you know, this crap has accumulated over generations, and now it's on us. But we're recognizing the problems, and like, I've already put in so much work to get past a lot of these issues. But it's far from easy. I don't know, like, right now I'm in the midst of an application for a schooling program so that I can become a software engineer, you know, try to change my direction in life, and we'll see if my application gets accepted. I've spent the past year looking at colleges and, you know, the tuition and all of that stuff, and the amount of time. Like, honestly, the amount of time, 4 years spent at college, doesn't really bother me so much, but the tuition and the living expenses, it's just crippling. But I found out about this program called Thinkful recently, and fingers crossed this works out and this leads to a brighter future for me. Because I've decided I want to become a part of building a more positive future. Renewable resources, artificial intelligence, robotics, these things are taking a more and more prevalent role in our society, and I want to be part of that. Because I know I have positive thoughts for the future, and I want to make sure that I can be a part of that so I can contribute to the positive development of those things. Because they very well could develop in negative ways if we aren't careful. But I have a lot of faith for our future. You know, like, I wish the best for everyone, everything, you know, you, myself, you know, like, you know, I love this planet, and I love the plants, I love the animals, I love all you people, even the ones of you that done horrible things, you know, like, all of that comes from the past, you know, like, the perpetuation of toxic cycles, and that's definitely no excuse, but I'm just saying, like, at this point, I have no room in my heart to judge anything or anyone, and I'm just committed to the positive development of everyone and everything. So, I still have a lot of work to do, but hopefully this story has helped some of you, and I feel good about getting this off my chest because, you know, a lot of it's really embarrassing, but I want to get everything out there. I want to be authentic. I want to be raw, open, real, help myself and help other people. You know, I love you all. And I hope the best for all of you. And I hope you support me too, like I support you. And, you know, we can help lift each other up toward a better future. And we've got this. We can do this. Well, I'm not really sure what else to say. I mean, that about wraps this up. Thanks for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed listening. I hope this helps you. I'm gonna stop rambling now. Alright, peace.